What I'd like to do for this talk today, this discussion, is share with you some of the resources that I found to be most useful for my own rabbinic research, whether I'm asked a question or I'm trying to prepare a shiur or anything like that. I will also say that some of these resources are going to be more useful for more advanced Torah learners. Some of them are going to be more useful for more beginning Torah learners. And so there's going to be some throughout the spectrum, whatever meets you where you are. Also, if you have any questions or you want to get a particular point across or you want to know a particular thing, please do make sure to just pop in. You don't need to raise your hand. Just unmute yourself, ask a question, and I'll do my best to answer. So let's start with the most basic and move up from there. I think most of us are going to be familiar with Sefaria. What I'm going to try and do is actually share my screen so that you can see the various websites and what they look like. So Sefaria we're fairly familiar with this. It has the entire corpus of Jewish learning on there in many different languages. It's all translated. You can go into these various different areas of rabbinic writings or Tanakh or AlHaTorah, whatever it is, and you can find what you need. One comment I will say about the way that Sefaria is organized is that it's a little bit difficult to find things. So for example, let's say I wanted to find the Perush Mishnah of the Rambam. Where would I go? I would go into Mishnah, and then I would go all the way to the bottom, and I would find Achronim and I would find Rishonim on the Mishnah, as opposed to it having its own sort of separate category. So that's just something to be aware of with Sefaria. Now, some people have a problem with Sefaria because there are translations in Sefaria, which I'll show you now actually, which are somewhat problematic halachically and theologically. So for example, there is a translation in here, and if you go here, let me just show you what I did. You go to Tanakh, you go to the particular book that you're looking for, and you click on this headline bit, and what is that there are different translations, right? There's contemporary Torah, there's Shakin Bible, there's Koren Bible, all these different things, right? And some of these are from non-Orthodox sources, right? Without commenting whether or not that's something that we find to be acceptable or not, many people don't like it. Specifically, this revised JPS 2023, actually, you'll see here is a gender-sensitive edition. And so lots of people don't like the sort of philosophical bent of some of these translations. And because of that, they've opted to leave Sefaria and move to a sort of alternative Sefaria platform called AlHaTorah. So AlHaTorah is this other platform, again, very similar to Sefaria, in that it's basically an online library, an online repository of Jewish learning. But this is a more, let's say, Orthodox religious type of bent, so that makes people feel a bit more comfortable. Again, to each their own. We're not here to play politics and take sides. But an interesting thing also with AlHaTorah is that it has some more research-based tools. So, you have, for example, here this is actually the Hebrew version, which would probably be a bit difficult for people, so let's put it into English. They have topics, partial topics, commentators, mikal gdolot, but what's very interesting here is a Tanakh lab. And so you can actually go to the Tanakh lab, and let's close this for a second. Again, go back to English. You can compare two texts anywhere in the Torah. There's lots of other cool things you can do. You press the gear button and you can explore and you can do whatever you want to. So there's lots of these research-based tools in AlHaTorah, which don't necessarily appear in Sefaria. I think when it first came out, they had this beautiful map of all the intertextual links in the Torah. They've really moved away from promoting that the intertextuality that Sefaria has made its name on. And AlHaTorah has come in and taken that mantle from them. So this is another very easy to use, easy to understand. If you go back to the front page, for example, it's all organized there, and you can just also search for what you want to. So let's say you want to find the Rambam Hilchot Deot, and it comes up, right? You press Deot, you press the right chapter that you want to, and then it's all there, shows up. And the beautiful thing about this is that it has many different mefarshim on the page. This will be an outline or a layout, which is very familiar to people who learn. It has the text on top, and then it has the mefarshim on the side. You can put it into English. So you just press this English button here, You can get them in different Mefarshim also, so all these different Kitvei Yad. I like AlHaTorah specifically for the Rambam because it has this thing here where you see Mishneh Torah Kitvei Yad Teimanim. And this is a Kitvei Yad that's used by Yochai Makbili in Mifal Mishneh Torah, which is a very good nusach of the Rambam. And again, we know that it's very important for the Rambam to learn the right nusach. But again, this one also, this main text, I think, is from Shilat. The Rambam Miduyak from Shirat. So it's a very high quality, really geared towards learners. It has the right Girsa'ot. So I really like using AlHaTorah, especially for Girsa'ot sensitive texts. Okay, another interesting resource if you're learning with students is this website called Merkava. Now, this is much more of a school-based website. Let's go here. You go up to the library section. Let's pick a page of Gemara. Let's say Brachot, right? And it gives you the entire Gemara here, but it's a very interactive layout. I can get it to show me the breakdown of the way the daf is constructed. Is it a statement? Is it a proof? Is it an attack, etc.? And you see here, it color codes the entire daf for you. And you can really train it or tell it the level of detail that you want on the page. So you could go up, for example, you could say, I don't want any translation or explanation. You'll see it's off. I want a literal. No, I want the extended. No, I want an explanation of also what's going on. And you could give it vowels if you wanted to. And by the way, did you notice that it even voweled Rashi and Tosfot? So if you look in Rashi and Tosfot, it even puts vowels in them too. So it's a very sort of interactive. You can turn off Rashi. If it's very difficult for you to read Rashi script, then you can
Is this only for Gemara or is this for other texts also?
Does it have this functionality for other texts? No, I think it does. I don't spend tons of time here, but let's double check. Yeah, absolutely. So you can turn the vowels. Not that you want to turn the vowels off in the Torah, but you could you can turn on and off, turn off Rashi script if you want to. And again, this layout is a very familiar layout to people who read, that the Chumash, which is like red and brown marbling on the top that a lot of schools use. So it's very familiar, this layout. You have Rashi and Latin. But again, if you don't want that layout, so do it a regular layout, do line by line. It's like a very modular type of system here for learners. And it has lots of other tools too. So if we go back into the Gemara, for example, and you go over here on the side, sorry, I clicked over here where it says these little 4 squares for the apps. And and there's a little AI, which I've not tried out, so I have no idea how good it is. You can make your own notes. You can put punctuation in the text if you want to. You can mark it up. You can create a flow chart or get a flow chart. Obviously, you have to sign in, right? You can have a quiz. So there's lots of things you can do with this. Again, much more geared towards school learning, but it's a very powerful platform, especially if you're going to build a curriculum on top of it. So that's a very good one. The next one I want to turn your attention to. Okay, so that's probably the most like the entry level, the ones that everybody knows about, the entry level ones. Like I need to find a text online. Where do I go? I go to Sefaria, I go to AlHaTorah, like I can copy and paste. Okay, so what are the next level? I need to find a text online. Right, the next level that if I want to find a text online, I'll go to something called Otzar HaHochma. Now, Otzar HaHochma, you need a subscription. So I'll show you what it looks like inside the subscription, and you can decide if there's something that you want to pursue. But Otzar HaHochma is essentially, I'm not sure how they did this legally, but I'm told it is legal. They have scans of nearly every book in the Jewish library. I'm talking tens and tens of thousands of books. But not only do they have scans of books, they have scans of every single different version of that book. So if we're going to go to Rambam, for example, just use him as an example here. You have, first of all, tons and tons of things here in the Rambam, right? But let's say you want to go to Mishneh Torah. So you want to look up the Rambam's halachic work, but you have a particular publisher that you like to learn from. So you have Rambam Lam, for example, right? Or you might have, I know that I needed to go to Tzfus Kushta. So you go to Kushta. No, that's actually it's a bit hard to read, obviously, right? So let's go to Yad Pshuta, and I needed to see what the Rabbi Rabinovich said on something, right? And again, you see here, they literally have scanned in every single book. It's unreal. And depending on the package that you get, that you buy, you can print, you can export to PDF. See here, it says export to PDF. But not only that, this is the very cool thing. You can go to this little scissors thing here, and it'll OCR the text for you. So it reads the text and then gives you copy and pastable text, so that instead of creating source sheets with these cutouts of scans of books that people have to break their eyes to read, you can actually have proper text. This really has every single Hebrew book that you could possibly wish for. There is another product which they brought out recently, which I've not tried in depth, mainly because I don't have a subscription to it, called Mefarshei Otzar. So if you go to Mefarshei Otzar, you get a hyperlinked Daf Gemara. This is very similar to Merkava that we saw, but the cool thing is you hyperlink it, and it gives you every single Mefaresh that they have in their library on the Daf, in the Daf of that Mefaresh. You see here, I just clicked and boom, all these different Mefarshim come up in their scans. So it's an incredibly powerful learning tool if you want to have access to really the entire Jewish library hyperlinked to the Daf Gemara. You don't need to leave this page. You click on a Rashi and you just get every single source. Every super commentator on Rashi is here. It's really an unbelievable resource for somebody who learns Torah. Okay, let's say you don't have a subscription. Sorry, Ethan, you said, is it being compared in the original or in English? Oh, you're talking about the AlHaTorah one? I don't know. It's a good question. I would imagine if you're using it in Hebrew, it's probably being compared in Hebrew. If you're using it in English, it might be compared in English. I don't know. You have to check that out. Okay, but let's say you don't have a subscription to Otzar HaHochma. So there's what I call the poor man's Otzar HaHochma, which is HebrewBooks. Now, HebrewBooks is HebrewBooks is okay as far as it goes. The problem with HebrewBooks is that the quality of the scans is not as good, and they don't have all the different books. But for the sort of main corpus, so Rambam, Tur, Shulchan Aruch, Shas, they have excellent versions, right? Here they have the regular Frankel edition, I think. Although this doesn't look like the Frankel edition to me. No, so this is just the regular Surat HaDaf or the Rambam. Again, the Rambam, you have to be careful about which girsa you learn, so maybe you go to AlHaTorah. But for Shas, they have very high quality scans of the Gemara. So if you just need it, you need to print a Daf Gemara off and you don't know where to get it from, and I don't have time to go in my library and scan whatever. So you go to HebrewBooks and you get these very high quality things. Again, Tur, Shulchan Aruch as well, organized as you'd expect it to be, right? And you can click through, you can go to Tur, you can go to Shulchan Aruch, and you get Surat HaDaf here. This is a new version as well, a new tfus. So, and really they have everything here. You can download for free, unlimited. There's no entrance fee. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's just freely available online. And again, they're adding all the time, right? So if you look here on the side, they added just now, Yigod Moshe, Cherek David. And the whole thing is there, right? You can read online, you press read online, and the whole thing is in front of you in high quality. This is also a great resource for people who are researching and learning online. Okay, so that's as far as finding a text online goes. Now, let's stop there for a second. Are there any questions so far on those sort of 5 or 6 different tools that I've shown you up until now? No, perfect. Okay, so let's keep going. The next thing that I want to show you is moving a little bit into research. Okay, so this is a very cool tool, and this is called aspaklaria.info. Aspaklaria is essentially this guy Shmuel Avram Adler put together, and these are the actual books, okay? A encyclopedia of everywhere that a particular concept or person is mentioned throughout the corpus of Jewish writing. The amount of effort that must have gone into this is astronomical, okay? And it's all organized by the alphabet. And so now it's online. So let's say, for example, I want to find out about, so I go to Aleph, Okay, you can see here every single of these different categories that they have. But let's say I click Avram. Okay, now I did decide. Do I want Avram and Elimelech, or Kasdim, Avram and Munah, right? And you just pick one. So let's say Avram and Yitzchak. It says, see Abraham and his children. So we go and we see Abraham Ubanav. Okay. So now you see it's all organized. It starts with the Zohar. They obviously have a mystical bent here. It starts with the Zohar and it's organized chronologically. Zohar, Gemara, Midrash, Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, Midrash Gadol, everything. All the different commentators. So let's say you're preparing a shiur on Chesed. Okay. I need sources on Chesed. What do? Where am I going to find now Chesed? These are trillion sources on Chesed. Oh, no problem. I'll go to Aspaklaria. I'll click on Chesed. Boom. Everything you could possibly wish for, right? You have, starting from Tanakh, all the way down. Everything you could, every single source I mentioned is Chesed. Now, are all of them going to be relevant for you? Could you just press Command A, copy the entire page, put it on a source sheet, and give a shiur? No. They're not thematically organized, meaning you still have to be the one to draw the connections between each source. You have to figure out what they're saying and why they're relevant to you. But in terms of a central repository for all the sources, this is almost unbeatable. You can see here, we're just going and going all the way up until Shiur, the amount of work, right? It's unbelievable as a resource. So really, any topic in the Jewish thought is going to be in aspaklaria.info. So that's right, aspaklaria transliterated into English.info, and then you get to that website. Okay, the next one is, let's say you're doing some research into Tanakh. So this is a website put together by the Gush and by Michael Herzog called Tanakh. And I'm not sure, yeah, they do have English. Let's go to English here. Okay, and it's unbelievable. It's so easy to use, and they have maps, right? So you want to have a biblical map, for example. You can go and you can see maps. You can see a map by the era, a map of the forefathers, right? And you see how it changes the whole time. You can have a map by chapter. So let's say I want a map of Exodus, chapter 3, okay? And you can see all these different maps and what they symbolize. Or you could go to Bamidbar, chapter 8, okay? And you view the text, and it has the text here on the side, and you can see all the maps of what's happening. So it's really an unbelievable resource. And again, it has inside of it tons of different essays and ionim and shiurim and podcasts. And look here, for example, it gives you topics, commentaries, maps, articles, audio, video, posts, personalities. Let's do Yitro, for example. And it takes you to a website that summarizes for you all the different things of Yitro, everything in English, right? If you want English, if you want Hebrew, if you want Spanish, it's there in Spanish as well. So really an unbelievable resource. And it has, obviously, all the 24 books of Tanakh. So let's say that you're learning Daniel, for example. So you go to Daniel, chapter 8. And it gives you the whole text and commentaries, and if you need a map, they give you a map and articles, etc. HaTanakh is an unbelievable resource. Okay, next, in terms of research. So now we're moving up one level in research. So we did, first of all, the basic things. Where do I find basic Hebrew texts online? Sefaria, AlHaTorah, we talked about. Then we talked to Merkava. We talked about a little bit of research, has access to every single book in the Jewish corpus, basically, HebrewBooks as well. Then we went up one more level. We talked about Tanakh. We talked about different places where you can find different things about Tanakh. The next thing I want to talk about is, let's say you are looking for full-fledged shiurim. So you don't want to do, it's before Shabbat, you need to give a shiur, you need to find a shiur. What am I going to do? I need to find a shiur on whatever topic. So here there are two fantastic websites that I want to tell you about. The first is called Olamot. Olamot is funded by the same person who funds HebrewBooks, Tzvi Reisman, and he writes a series of books called Ratzka Tzvi. He is a businessman. He's not even a rabbi, I don't think, technically at least. A businessman living in LA, very successful, and he writes a series of She'elot and Tshuvot called Ratzka Tzvi, a very well-known philanthropic person. In any event, he put together this website, which is full of different shiurim. So you go, this is the homepage. Sifriat Shiurim is the library, and you go to Olamot Be'iyun. Olamot Be'iyun now has hundreds of shiurim, okay? You have hundreds and hundreds of shiurim. If you want to search, I think the way you do it is, give me a second to remember, because there is a way to search by, maybe press this, if you're at shiurim. No. In any event, there is, I'll remember in a minute, there is a way to search. Oh, here it is, Chipus Mitkadem. It was covered by my Zoom thing. You press Chipus Mitkadem, and then you can, let's say you need to prepare on this week's parasha. So you go to AlHaTorah, Chapes, and then you see all the shiurim that they've put together based on Parashat AlHaTorah. And so, for example, Shemer Ta'im Hashem. So they're not only halach, they also have shiurim in Emunah and Ashkafa. So Shemer Ta'im Hashem. What they do is they give you Taksir Shiur, which is like the summary, okay? And then they give you Daf HaChana. So Horadat HaChana means they put together, mamash, they put together a sheet which walks you through how to give the shiur if you're giving the shiur. And it's basically here, right? It's all this. They tell you, Aleph, in the Rambam it says blah, 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 blah. And it quotes you these psukim. And this is the malach. And this is how the shiur goes. And you could literally download this Erev Shabbat, read through it, and then be able to deliver the shiur. And then, so that's the pay achana. And then you have the pay mekorot. It gives you a PDF version of all the sources. And they, Olamot particularly, have a thing where they give you the source sheet as photocopies and cutouts of the actual Tzurat HaDaf. So it'll be 10 pages of actual photocopies of the sources in a PDF form. You give it out, you give the shiur. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, the other thing that you can do, that you can go to, is Mechalkei Hamayim. And that is a website, again, the people who put this together are unbelievable, where he basically takes different topics in each of the parashiyot and also in each of the moadim. So you can see on the left side moadim, and on the right side, a parashot habarot. So you click on Ba'alotcha, this week's parasha, and you see here all of these different source sheets. These are all topics, okay? So let's say Ayad Hashem Tiktzar. So we go there, and what he does is he gives you the source psukim in the Torah that he's going to read from, and also in Navi. And the way that he's put this together is you have all the sources on the right-hand side here, and all of his footnotes or his commentary, or the way that he walks you through the shiur on the left-hand side. So, and it's hyperlinked, so you can walk through this while you're preparing, look at these hyperlinks, see what he wants you to understand from them. And then when you're ready, you can download this whole thing either as a Word document, which is editable, or a PDF, which is obviously uneditable. So let's say that you wanted to download it as a Word, and then you could take all the text and translate it for, let's say you needed to have it in English as well. So this is also an unbelievable resource for people who give shiurim. It also has a little AI bot built in that you can ask it whatever. I've not tried that out, so take that with a grain of salt. And then also for Tisha B'Av, right? So for all the Moadim, he has all these different shiurim if you want to give a shiur on Tisha B'Av. And it's all free. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to do anything. Just go in, take what you want, download it. He also has one-off shiurim, so dapim yuchadim he calls them. And he also has, if I'm not mistaken, he has illustrated versions for children. So you can download one of these things. And again, I'm not sure how relevant this will be to people who only speak English, but he does have these sort of pictures. Maybe you could take the pictures and use it on a different daf, whatever. And he does have also some things in English as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's Mechalkei Hamayim. Okay. Now, let's say that you want to research a halachic topic in depth. So what might be your first protocol? And so for me, I like to go to a place called Tchumin Plus. Tchumin is a journal that's published once a year in Israel. I think once a year, maybe twice a year in Israel. It looks like this is a picture of Tchumin up here. Let me just sign in so that we can see what it looks like inside the platform. And so Tchumin is essentially a journal of the meeting between modernity and halakha. And how does it play out in the Medina, in science, in maths, in whatever, right? So all the sort of breakthrough papers that have come out of the Israeli world in terms of IVF, driving on Shabbat for the police, all these sort of really keystone topics for the formation of the state, and dealing with new scientific endeavors. How do we relate to artificial meat, right? Tzurba. All these different things are inside of this journal called Tchumen, okay? And so this ma'agar, this, what do you call it? This database has all Tchumen inside of it, as you'll notice here on the side. It also has journals called Bitzomat Torah Medina, all the journals about about the mifgash between the Torah and the state. You have the books of Rabbi Israeli. You have Shiur Bazak, which is the kollel that I was in Eretz Temda. We write Sheilot and Shuvot. We have about 10 volumes now published, I think. Also, Shmirat Shabbat Kirchata, you'll also be very familiar with that. That's all digitized and on here, and it comes up when you search, which is an unbelievable thing. So if you want to search Shmirat Shabbat Kirchata, you say, I remember I saw something in there, can't figure out where it is, and you can't find it in the index in the back, go and search, and it comes up. I'll show you how this works in a minute.
What's the website? What's the website for this? What's the link?
The link is books.zomet.org.il.
And is this paid or is this free?
Oh, no, it's paid, but it's like ridiculously cheap. It's 75 shekels a year. It's super cheap. It's an unbelievable thing. You do have to sign up, but it's great. Anyway, so they have Nishmat Avraham, which is halachic, medical halacha, Asiya, which is a medical halachic journal. You'll find lots of good stuff there too. Encyclopedia Echatite Refuit, also excellent. And then you have Mishpat Ivri, which is all about tort law and halacha, and other books which are published by Somet. All of these are here now, okay? So let's say I want to search for artificial meat. So I'll type in Basam Turbat. And I'll search. And let's see what comes up. Give it a second to remember that it's supposed to be doing something. Yeah. And so now what you get is all of these various things, but it tells you in where the different responses are. So you have 12 ma'amarim in Tchumen, 12 different essays in Tchumen about Basam Turbat. And you see here, right? Tzvi Reisman, he, by the way, is the Rav Tzvi. He was the guy who funds Olamot. Yaakov Ariel, Avram Stav, Zev Weitman, and these are huge names, right, in the modern Orthodox world today in Israel, right? And then you have also Shut B'Mara Bazak, right? So you have one Sheilan Tshuva about this. Is it kosher? And then all these different things, right? You have responses. So how does it work? And responses to responses. And it's like a proper academic journal. It has everything in it you could possibly want to. And so this is an incredible resource if you're preparing a shiur. And so let's just click into one of them for a minute. And you'll see it gives you and so it gives you the entire mar in plain text. So you can literally copy and paste this if you want to your source sheet. But it also, and it gives you, right, hyperlinked the entire outline of the mamar. But you can also press Hored Mamar, and then you get it in PDF form. And this is exactly how it appears in the journal, in this exact format. And you can download it and read it in your own pleasure. You can print it off, read it on Shabbat. You can go through it you can use it as a source sheet, and go through it with your congregants or the people you're giving shiur to. So it really is an unbelievable Torah research resource. Okay, the next one is a little bit obvious, but also not. So there's a place called Atar Din, okay, which is a little bit more of a Haredi bent, but it has Sheilot and Shuvot. People ask Sheilot and Shuvot in this website, and you can literally, this is what they do, right? There's an answer for every sheila. You put your name, your email address, you ask them a question, and they're primarily mamonot, but not only, right? All this other stuff as well. And so if we just go to the ma'agar, you can see what people have asked them before. Let's pick Shabbat. The reason why I like this so much is because even if you don't agree with their halachic conclusions, which I don't always find myself agreeing with their halachic conclusions, what's very interesting is they try to source all of what they write. So you have a sheila, can I put on Shabbat any not cooked food into a kli shlishi, a tertiary kli on Shabbat? And so they give you a whole answer, and they give you, look, we'll tell you, it's not just yes or no. We'll tell you where to go, and we'll say, look at the shashak. So they're very good about sourcing everything that they write. Maybe Shabbat, let's say, can I play a game on Shabbat? They give you what they say, right? They think you shouldn't play a Monopoly for adults. They give you everything that you need. They also have it in English, though. If you don't read it, you don't understand Hebrew, you don't want to put into ChatGPT to translate. So you go here, questions, anything you could possibly want. Not suitable. Let's see. Somebody's asked to daven, but he's not so frum, and he wants to know what should he do. And then they write back, right? They give you a whole answer, and they give you additional reading. So there really is an unbelievable resource for somebody who's answering questions. There's also Atar Kipa. Now, Atar Kipa is more than just Sheilot and Shuvot. This is like a one-stop shop for the Dati Leumi world online. But they also have this thing called She'alat Harav. So oftentimes what happens is if you type in a question on Google in Hebrew, then Atar Kipa will come up as one of the responses. And so what happens is a question is asked to them, and they have a huge database of rabbis that answer the question. It's unbelievable. And then you'll see like different rabbis will answer different things. So here, for example, somebody asked, Lama ochlim kasher. Okay. So this guy answered, right? And again, these answers are less comprehensive than maybe Atar Din, right? Lama ochlim kasher zel avodah. I want to know to answer for my workplace. We eat it because of mitzvah. Okay. But for example, sometimes you get questions from people can ask questions to Rav Sherlo, for example, right? And so you can see all the questions Rav Sherlo answers. How do I find favor in the eyes of God? Okay. Again, so these are random people on the internet asking questions. But again, depending on what it is that you ask, so if it's a halachic question, Giluach B'Lag B'Omer, for example, shaving on Lag B'Omer, so this is like straight to the point, right? Can I shave in Thursday night at night after Maariv when Lag B'Omer is on Friday? He says, there's lots of opinions here. Right? Yes, it's fine. So this is like a very practical type of thing. Okay, so I think that's it as far as like the sort of survey that I wanted to do of the various different websites that you could use. Obviously, a lot of people today, in today's day and age, are using ChatGPT and other AI platforms. I will caution you that I don't think that's a good idea, at least not yet. And the reason for that is that ChatGPT lies. It makes up sources that don't exist at all in reality. It'll make up Gemaras, it'll make up Rishonim. And so I wouldn't use it for that. What I might use it for, though, is let's say you had a bunch of different sources and you wanted to figure out a way to connect them together, or if you needed a translation of a particular source, it's very good for that. Especially Claude.ai, if you put a source in, it will give you a translation, and you can even tailor the translation to be in the style that you want it to be. So you could say, translate this in Shakespearean English or modern English or whatever it is. And it does all that too. So this is just some of the resources that I would use. Oh, sites for Gemara review questions. So there is a site, now that you've jogged my memory, put on by a guy from Chicago. So if you're following along, oh, what's his name? I've completely forgotten now. Give me a second to find it. If you're following along here it is. If you're following along our weekly emails, you'll see that we're talking about ways of different effective cognitive scientific ways of learning Torah. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is something called spaced repetition, where you want to review something right before you forget about it. So there's a website called Anki-Torah. I'll just share my screen with you again. And Anki is a spaced repetition tool. Okay. It's like basically flashcards, but on your computer. But that's the long and short of it. And so they've created review questions for every Daf Gemara. Okay. And they have 53,000 questions and organized into flashcards that you can download onto your computer and literally just memorize. You go to brachot, and here he says he has essentials and then comprehensive, and it's by daf. So it's really an unbelievable resource for somebody who's looking to memorize Torah. This guy is actually a very good friend of my brother from Chicago. I think he's even his brother-in-law, might be my brother's brother-in-law. He lives in Beitar Illit, as an unbelievable guy. And this Anki-Torah, I'll put the link in the chat, it gives you everything that you need to download, and it has also review questions on Torah itself. Judaism 101, right? Fast days, holidays. So you want to memorize stuff about, you have a need to know lots of different things about Judaism. So here's where you would come and download all these questions, and then you have them available. And also there are questions on Chumash and on Rashi. There's 108 questions that he says here on Bereshit. So it's for Chazara, it's unbeatable, an unbeatable resource. Okay, any other questions? Anything that I didn't cover that you were really hoping I would, that I can help you with? No. Okay, so Alev Atzlech, thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you around. Oh, go on, Asher. Yes.
Quick question. You didn't cover anything like Bar-Ilan or those types of platforms?
Right. Okay. So Bar-Ilan, I didn't cover it because it's not really an online resource. There is an online website for Bar-Ilan, but it's almost unusable as far as I'm concerned. It's very difficult to use as a platform online. Bar-Ilan as a computer program, though, yes, I can show you that for sure. Let me share my screen if you're willing to stick around me for just a few more minutes. So this is Bar-Ilan. And it's essentially a program which hasn't been, at least the user interface hasn't been updated since I think the late 80s. But what can I tell you? It's they're not interested in the way things look, just the way it runs. And again, it has an unbelievable amount of different stuff in here in terms of different texts and whatever. And so the way it works is it has, let me just clear off all these and we can, so you can search for things by, let's say you know exactly where you want to go to. So you say Parashat HebrewBooks, and we'll get this week's Parasha up, okay? And so let's get it up now. And then what you can do is, on any pasuk, you can click on it, and you can get any of the Mefarshim which exist on that. And not any of the Mefarshim which exist. There are texts which are not in Bar-Ilan. They do, and then they have to have a reason to put out a program every year. So they add text every year. But they have basically anything you could possibly want. And if they don't have it here, then they have it on Otzar HaHochma. Look, it's unbelievable, right? Let's say you want to go to the Nitzi, for example. And we click on it, and it comes up, right? And then all of this, by the way, all this text, it's copy and pasteable. It's searchable fully by the system. And it has midrashim, and it's hyperlinked and whatever. We could spend an hour just going through Bar-Ilan and how it works. What I will tell you is what's fantastic about Bar-Ilan is that when you're learning a daf Gemara, let's go back to the brachot daf that we've been talking about so far. One more thing while we're waiting is that Bar-Ilan, unfortunately, does not run on a Mac. And so you'll notice I'm on a Mac, and what I'm having to do is run a virtual machine of Windows on my Mac, and then on that I can install the Bar-Ilan. So that's a little bit of they don't have a Mac version as of yet. Okay, so the way that the Gemara works is actually very clever because the halakha is hyperlinked. So you'll see this, for example, you can actually click on this and see in a little tooltip, you can see the Rambam, you can see the Shulchan Aruch, and then if you click on it, it will take you Ksharim, it will take you to the Rambam, and you can click on this, and it'll open the Rambam. So you can literally hop around the entirety of the Torah just by hyperlinking yourself. And then when you're in the Rambam, you right-click. You want to see all the Parshanim and the Rambams. Okay, oh, there's all these. Unbelievable. Fantastic, right? Let's say I want to go to Tanakh. Oh, fantastic. So it opens it up here, right? So it really, you could spend all of your time in Bar-Ilan. And then I think many serious Torah learners do spend all the time in Bar-Ilan because it is so fantastic. You'll notice, by the way, the Gemara here is also not minukad, but mifusak. It's punctuated. And if you don't know a word, let's say you don't know a word in Aramaic, so you just click on it and a little tooltip comes up. So vitu, what does vitu mean? Oh, it means shuv. Oh, okay. Fantastic. What is ma'ishna? It tells you ma'ishna. Ma'ishna, what's the difference? Oh, okay. So you have lots of things like that. In terms of kelim, if you go up here to the kelim button, You'll see it has biographies, and it has encyclopedias, and you can change the language of the interface from Hebrew and English and French. It has dictionaries inside of it, or tevot, encyclopedias, absolutely endless things here. And actually, I just also remembered another thing that will be very useful for learners online, and that is something put out by, I think it's HebrewU, but it's one of these academic places. And so this is it's a whole bunch of textual tools for Hebrew. So let's say you're learning and you have a Rashi Tevot and you don't know what the Rashi Tevot, acronyms, I think they're called. And you don't know what they mean. But they're not like, you can't just type it into Google because Google doesn't understand rabbinic language, and rabbinic Rashi Tevot could be anything, right? So whatever it is. So you type it in here, it's called Pianuach Rashi Tevot Rabbanim. Okay, rabbinic Rashi Tevot. And so you type in Memshin, for example, and you press Hachel Pianuach, which means let's open up what it could mean. Mashakatav, it could be Maishna, it could be Mishim Etom Mutalafana, which is a parak in Shas, it could be Masha, whatever, right? Mishpatei Sha'u Shmuel. And you can actually put the full text in here, and it will open up the Rashi Tevot for you. So it's really an unbelievable thing. And if you go to Akelim, then you'll see it has many other different. So Nokdan Automati means that, let's say you want to put Nikudot. Put Nikudot in. Let's say you want to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. So it's Miktoi, which is like much more professional, right? Let's say you want to do an archaeological dig on the text and see the various different styles of how it was written. So that's Piluach Signoni. And really an unbelievable amount of different resources on this page for working and manipulating text but specifically rabbinic and Hebrew rabbinic text. You can also be Mashiveg Yirsaot, which is another one. And interestingly enough, by the way, if we're on the topic of Yirsaot, then there is, what's it called? I'll find it for you in a second. There's a website where you can compare different Girsaot of the Gemara. I've completely lost it. Oh, here it is. Perfect. And again, I don't think this requires you to sign up to use. And Hafi Garcinan, that's what it's called. Okay. Oh, maybe it does require you to sign up. Okay, so we'll do a guest login. Okay, so now we're here on Hafi Garcinan, which is an unbelievable website as well. And let's say we type in brachot. Let's use our same daf. Okay. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that the daf Gemara we have is only one of many different girsaot. And different girsaot have different words in them. And actually, many times when you see a machloket rishonim, some of the mefarshim will come along and say, it's actually not a machloket, they just had different versions of the Gemara. And this is a fantastic tool to see which version they had. And so what the Gemara does, what this website does, it takes the Vilna Shas, which is the Shas that we are familiar with, and it gives you the text. And then it gives you every other manuscript they're familiar with, and will highlight for you in red the differences between the different gears, or between that girsa and the Vilna Shas, rather. And so you can literally go through here and you say, okay, this is the Vilna Shas. Now, what's happening in these other manuscripts, right? The Oxford 366, whatever, right? And so you see all these different girsa. Now, when there are some sugyot where it actually makes a really big difference, look at the amount of text variance between Ferencia Sheva and Vilna, right? There's 2 or 3 extra lines here. So there are some halachic sugyot where the girsa makes a big difference, and this becomes a really invaluable tool for comparing different versions of the Talmudic text and seeing the way the different Rishonim learned the different texts and why they arrived at the conclusions that they did halachically. Okay, any other questions that anybody has? No, fantastic. Okay, so I just want to say again how much we value all of you in the community, and we're really pleased that you're engaging with the resources that we have for you. And if there's anything that we can do to make the community better, a resource that you'd like to see us produce or point you in the direction of, please do get in touch with me. sam@tzurbaolami.com, and I will do my absolute best to accommodate you. In the meantime, have a great day.